Hi, my name is Ken Fernandez and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite cooperative games. The reason why I'm doing this list right now is because a long time ago, I made a list for my top 10 favorite kind of cooperative games, where they were a list of games where you kind of could work together, but there was always some element that kind of would break that partnership to shreds. So if you'd like to check that video out, I'll leave it down in the link with a link in the description below, so you can check that out. As per usual though, with most of my top 10 lists, if any game that I mention in this list is featured on our how to play video, I will link that in as it pops up in this video. But now that the introduction's done, let's count down. Okay, so number 10 is the game Marvel Champions by Fantasy Flight Games. I actually thought about, I was kind of stuck between this and Marvel Legendary by Upper Deck, but I kind of decided to go with Marvel Champions because I kind of feel like I need to feature this one a little bit more than Legendary because I featured it a lot, and I kind of want to try to mix it up a bit with these lists and not just keep repeating the same games over and over and over again. So Marvel Champions, just kind of like Marvel Legendary, is a card game. There's not that much deck building though to it. So you kind of already have this pre-started deck. You get to play as different heroes in the main set. You get like Black Panther, you get Spider-Man, you get Iron Man, you get She-Hulk, and I think Captain Marvel is the last one. I might be missing one, but I believe those are the ones that you can play as. And then you can get like expansion packs and everything. The similarities is there is a mastermind who's trying to complete a scheme, just like in Legendary, and you're trying to work together by powering up your hero enough to fight the mastermind. Once you defeat the mastermind enough times, then you win the game. However, if he manages to complete his scheme by having more scheme tokens on his scheme, then for the player count, then he wins. Or if any one of the heroes dies, he wins. It's a really fun game. The different packs and everything always changes up the game. If you are a big Marvel fan and you like that, I highly recommend this game. Plus it's made by Fantasy Flight, so this is a living card game, meaning that everything you need to play this game will be in the base set. Yes, of course there's expansions, but you don't really need to get the expansions if you don't really feel like it. But if you're like one of those crazy completionist people like me, or you're just really obsessed with Marvel like me, yeah, you probably would want to get the remaining sets. So number 10, Marvel Champions. Okay, so number 9 is the game Forbidden Desert by Gamewright. I did want to pick one of the Forbidden games. I do like Forbidden Sky, and I do really enjoy Forbidden Island, but I do feel like, and I kind of wanted to pick one that's really good for beginners. I think both these games, both Desert and Island, are really good for beginners. I think if you're new to this hobby, you should probably play one of those two before you play Sky. I'm also doing this because well, actually, this one's a coincidence, but this year they are going to release a 4th Forbidden game, Forbidden Jungle, which looks really cool, and I can't wait to try that out. But in Forbidden Desert, this is a sequel to Forbidden Island. Each game kind of plays into each other. So you start off, I'm going to kind of basically do you. So you start off on an island that's sinking, and the goal of the game is to try to get into this helicopter and fly off the island. You work together by collecting these treasures, and if you have all 4 treasures, you can just leave the island, but you need to have a special card in order to leave. Then you crash land into the desert, and you have to assemble an ancient flying machine. You do this by digging through the sand. You can try to get under tunnels. You can die of thirst, you can die of just, you know, all sorts of ways. You can get buried in the sand. There's so many ways you can die in these games. And there's like only like one way you can win. But then once you assemble the machine, you can fly off, and then that's when Forbidden Sky comes in. Once again, you crash. You're a terrible pilot, by the way, in this game. You have a pilot, but he's a terrible pilot. But they're a terrible pilot. So, and then I'm assuming, then you get in a rocket ship, you fly off, and then you crash on a planet. Yeah, so all these is, you build the thing, it takes off, you crash the thing, you have to build a new thing, it takes off, it crashes into something else, you build a new thing, it takes off, it crashes into something else. It's a lot of fun. This one has like different items, you have to try to conserve your water supply. A lot goes into this, and you have to do a lot more communication, a lot more teamwork. I do love how cooperative this game is. It is super fun. It can be real, although granted, the more players you have, sometimes it can get a lot more difficult because it is so aggressive towards you. But I love every minute of it. And that is why number 9 is Forbidden Desert. Okay, so number 8 is the game The Loop, which is published by Pandasaurus Games in the US. In other locations, all these games are published by different publishing companies, but I'm just going to list the ones that they're published by in the US because that's where I live. So in The Loop, you get to play as these time agents, and you have to defeat this Dr. Foe. And before he destroys the universe by creating enough paradoxes to destroy all space and time. And you get to use different powers, card powers. This is a deck building game. It is a really fun deck building game, by the way. The artwork is really cool, like right out of the 60s and 70s. And you have to use your time agents to, you know, defeat Dr. Foe and his many clones. And it can get more and more dangerous as you progress. It's one of those games that starts off pretty easy, and it can progressively get more and more dangerous. Again, I love this game because it does really incorporate teamwork, because a lot of cards work well off of your partners. It's not just, oh, you get this, you get that. It's like, no, the player to your right gets this, or the player to your left gets that. So you have to really think of if you want to play these cards, when you want to initiate a loop. A lot of thinking goes into this, a lot of strategy, a lot of communication. It is truly a really great, fun game, and I do love it very, very much. Yeah, so if you're kind of not into, like, it's kind of like it looks like, honestly, it kind of looks like, the main character kind of looks like a character from an old Learning Company game that I used to play. Yeah, with that being said, number 8 is The Loop. Okay, so number 7 is a game that I kind of recently played, but I've known about for a while, and it is called JustOne, and it's by Repo Productions. In this game, you are all working together to try to get somebody to guess a special word. And you do that by writing these clues down on these little nameplates with a lot of with some markers and everything like that. So let's say the word is ocean. So somebody writes down like starfish, another person writes down writes down like water or salt or something like that. But if anybody uses the same or similar word, so like one person puts salt, so they're like, oh, well, salt is probably obvious, so I'll put sodium. So that way, nobody will be able to know what it is. Sodium chloride or something like that. Oh no, that counts as salt, and unfortunately, that clue goes away. So they can go from all the clues to like no clues or just one. You go to just one clue, and you have to figure out the word based off of that one clue. It is a really fun game. It definitely makes people laugh based off of like how they pick, because it's so surprising, like the words they pick based off for their clues. It is a very enjoyable cooperative party game. It is classified as a party game, but still does not exclude this from this list. So number 7, JustOne. Okay, so number 6 is a game that I recently played, actually. I believe I played it last year at Gen Con. It's called Set a Watch by Rock Manor Games. And this is a role-playing cooperative game, which means you all take on a role of a character and you're trying to guard this little camp where you have a fire going. And all these monsters, goblins, zombies, the Grim Reaper, they all come at you like just your typical role-playing game monsters all come at you. You got vampires, werewolves, you name it. They're all just coming at you at this little fireplace, and you're trying to make sure that the fire does not go out. And you try to like make it brighter so you can see better and everything like that. Different characters have different abilities to help you out with that. And then at the end, if you manage to beat all those different monsters, you think it's over. No, then the discard pile becomes a horde pile, which means then you have to beat as many monsters as you possibly can. If you can survive it all, you win the game. If you manage to survive parts of it, you just get a certain placement. But you still kind of win the game. You just don't get the maximum points. However, if you die before you get to that part, you do lose the game. It is a pretty good game, and once again, it is one of those games that does encourage a lot of communication, a lot of working together with the other people at the table. Some cooperative games are just cooperative by name, and it's cooperative, but you really can kind of do your own thing. But this game really does say, yeah, you have to work together, otherwise that vampire is going to come and drink your blood. So I definitely recommend checking out this game. Number 6, Set a Watch. Okay, so number 5 is a game called Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time, which I have over here. I have taught this game on this channel, and this game is a man named Professor Evil. Once again, we have a thing on time. He built a time machine to travel throughout time to steal different historical artifacts and create a small fortune for himself. We get to play as, once again, time agents to try to steal the artifacts back, and then that's how we win. If he gets all the artifacts, if he gets enough artifacts and locks it in his vault, if he locks enough artifacts in his vault, he wins. If we get to steal enough artifacts, then we win. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of traps, a lot of stuff you have to watch out for, and of course you have to watch out for Professor Evil. If he catches you, you get kicked out of the manor and get one step closer to losing the game. This is a pretty fun game, and once again, it is one of those games that... This one is kind of medium with the cooperative. It is one of those games that's kind of like, you kind of can do your own thing, but most of the time, the closer to the end of the game you get, the more you want to communicate more. So that's why there is quite a bit of communication, but not as much as... Okay, number 4 is Horrified, but American Monsters. This game, I feel like, makes you need to work together more, in order to defeat the monsters. This one, in my opinion, is a little more harder than the original Universal Monsters Horrified. The American Monsters definitely have a little bit more of an edge. They don't work together as well as like the Universal Monsters, but that's because, you know, this is kind of more off of Americans' ghost stories and stuff like that. This is also by Ravensburger, and I really enjoy this game. I know a lot of people say it's just a clone of the original Horrified, but I mean, either way, it doesn't matter because, you know, somebody might be more drawn into the Chupacabra, Bigfoot, Jersey Devil, Mothman, all that stuff, versus like traditional Dracula and all that stuff. But this is, it is a really fun game. The minis are, like, the quality of the minis are really good. I'm hoping that we can feature this on our Halloween episode this year. I highly recommend you check out both Horrifieds. But Yeah, definitely you should also check out the American Monsters, because this is the one I'm talking about, because number 4 is Horrified American Monsters. You'd hope. It's pretty fun. Funforge did a nice job with the publishing this game and everything. Every bit of this game is just phenomenal. I enjoy it a lot. Number 5, Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time. Okay, so number 3 is not as wordy, but also starts with the letter P. It is a recent game called Paint the Roses by North Star Games. And one of the reasons why I put this game on this list is because in one of the videos I did where I named my previously played at Gen Con games, I put this game by Breaking Games, but actually it's by North Star Games. The same people that make Oceans and Evolution and all that stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't put that on there, because they make Oceans and Evolution. It's kind of like when you think Days of Wonder, you think Ticket to Ride. But anyways, this game, you get to play, well, you're kind of playing as yourself, but you're represented by card soldiers. And you have to try to plant these different colored roses in different patterns. Some of them is just colors, some of them is just shapes, some of them is a mixture of shapes and colors. It is really fun, but as the game progresses, the queen is trying to chase after you. If you get caught by the queen, you lose. If you manage to get to a certain point on the board, you win. It is another one of those games where it starts off really easy, but as tiles are placed on the board, more spaces are filled up, and then you have to try to figure out what you can solve and clue people by using these little cubes. You got to try to figure out how you're going to communicate which one is the correct one, so that way you can score the maximum number of points. It is a really good game. It's really fun. I like how basic it is. But it can also get very difficult very fast. All the cards range from easy to medium to hard. And there's 3 separate decks, so you don't have to like randomly draw. But it is a great game. If you are a big fan of Alice in Wonderland, I do recommend you check this game out. Or if you just like those fun tile placement kind of puzzly games, I also recommend you check it out. That is why number 3 is Paint the Roses. Okay, so number 2, sorry for that jump, is ScoobyDoo the board game by Cool Mini or Not. This game, there's been a big surge in Scooby-Doo games, but I think this one really does capture the spirit of Scooby-Doo. You're being chased around by monsters. You get to play as all the members of the Mystery Incorporated gang: Shaggy, Scooby, Velma, Daphne, and Fred. And it's not the characters from the Velma series; it's the characters from Scooby-Doo Where Are You? I'm just pointing that out. So if you're a big fan of that show and you're expecting to see those characters, no, you're going to be seeing the original characters. But now we have right here we have that's the deluxe edition, which has painted minis. It also has extra monsters as well. But the board is really just dripping with Easter eggs. You get, like, Vassal's Castle, the Funland, I think it was called. You get the museum. You got, there's all sorts of really cool places from the Scooby-Doo series. So if you're a big Scooby-Doo fan, I do recommend you check this game out. And if you can find a way to get a deluxe edition because you missed out on the Kickstarter, I would definitely look into that, because that would be even more of a big thing for Scooby-Doo fans. So number 2, Scooby-Doo, the board game. Okay, so number 1 is the game Sleeping Gods by Red Raven Games. And Ryan Lockett is a really good game designer, I have to say that. This is a really fun, awesome role-playing game. And it is definitely like you have to make decisions based off of what you all discuss in a meeting. Because you have this limited amount of crew, it doesn't get that bigger. You can get some more cards to help you along. But like all these monsters and hazards and all sorts of stuff, you're trying to get out of this special, like this magical world. And it's kind of like Atlantis meets like Hercules or something like that, because it's like Greek mythology. Not really Atlantean, but there's some Greek mythology and Atlantean mythology. But this is a really cool game. The artwork is just gorgeous. Ryan also did the artwork for that. He designed the game. He published the game. It is a wonderful, wonderful game. It's like one of my favorites. And one of the best parts about this game is it's, you can pause it, so you don't have to have it take up your table for, for like months on end, and because you're going to work on that campaign, you decided that is probably not going to happen for another 2 or 3 months. But yeah, there is a quick, like, kind of a prologue before this to kind of get you used to the gaming mechanics of the game. It works really well. You kind of know the level of danger that can come in, but the danger will grow as you go. There's all sorts of puzzles and other things that you have to do to try to progress the story, and you can get lost, and there is kind of a bit of a ticking clock as well. It gets really good. It gets really intense really fast. That is why number 1 is Sleeping Gods. Well, there you go. There's my top 10 favorite cooperative games. I do really like cooperative games. I know some people aren't really that big of a fan of cooperative games because there's the belief that that's not how games are supposed to be played. You don't work together as a team. You have to compete against each other. There has to be someone who wins and someone who loses. But I really do like these cooperative games because it definitely helps with like communication, team building, all sorts of really great things to make sure that and especially for a kid's perspective, they might need that more than adults. But I don't know, nowadays you'd really think that maybe a lot of adults could benefit from games like this too. But with that being said, what are your favorite cooperative games? I know there's a lot out there, and like I only named like 10, so But let me know down in the comments below, and if there's any of these games that you would like me to make how to play videos on. Some of them I don't actually have the game currently, but a lot of them, like Sleeping Gods, I do have the game. So just let me know in the comments below which games would you like to see. And once again, I did link every game that I already do have a how to play video on this channel when the game was mentioned. So feel free to check them out. Be on the lookout for our next top 10 list. But until then, thanks for the views.